الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Welcome to our viewers. Most countries ruled by a Muslim government have one or more non-Muslim religious minorities. We have with us as our guest today Professor Dr. Anis Ahmad. Assalamu alaikum. Dr. Anis is a specialist in comparative religion and an Islamic scholar. I wonder, Dr. Anis, can you give us a brief rundown of the situation in various Islamic countries, what sorts of non-Muslim minorities there are, if you have figures that would give us a picture, and are there geographical groupings where one minority exists and others don't? Give us briefly a picture of that.
I'll rather go back to early history to begin my expose on it. We find in our early history, when Prophet migrated from Mecca to Medina, he came across the Jewish population who were there for quite some time. But as a minority group in Medina, the Prophet finalized a covenant with them, known as the Covenant of Medina. In that we have about 57 clauses, and those clauses declare very clearly what is state policy towards those who are not Muslims. It says very clearly they will have same human rights as Muslims have in terms of their protection of life, honor, property, and so on and so forth. If Medina is attacked, they will participate in defense of Medina. If they do not participate, then they will have some option to contribute. Now, that gives a general framework. Then he made similar covenant with the Christian population of Najran, and they were guaranteed complete religious freedom, freedom to trade, freedom to live the way they like, their way of life. Nothing was touched except they were living in the Islamic territories, observing the civil rule of Islam. We have example from India and from Spain and elsewhere where significant minorities lived, and yet they were given all their liberties. Islamic approach towards minority is not that of assimilation or systematic elimination, but it's a matter of recognizing their separate entity. They have their own religious system, even if they want to have their own kind of social relationships. Say, for example, if they have a ritual for marriage, then Islamic State never interferes in that. It allows them to go ahead and observe that. If they have certain social customs, say, for example, they use liquor in their religious service, while using liquor in Islamic State is prohibited. Use of liquor for them is not prohibited. Therefore, you will find that Islam has taken a very friendly, open approach of allowing them to observe their religion, culture, and civil rights. However, if someone from minority comes forward and says, I live in your state, but I want your television and radio to be used by me attacking the person of your prophet, the person of your God, the person of head of state, should we say, since you are a minority, please come forward and do it? Or we say, as a civil society requires certain norms from everyone, we expect as citizens, we will not exploit your being a minority. It is in this context that you will find that sometimes a question is raised. Well, if there are some minority groups, Christians or Hindus in Islamic State, will they be allowed to believe what they believe? Will they be allowed to participate in political structure or not? The answer is very simple. In Islamic structure, they have a role to play, a constructive role to play as members of civil society. Some of the secretaries of Muslim Khulafa were non-Muslims. They were involved in administrative matter. If they participate in war to defend country, then there is no jizya from them, no social security tax from them. So we find a very well-balanced structure of Islam toward minorities. I'm not aware of any violations in our history. There may be some individual situations, but as I state, there have been no single violation in our history of 15 centuries.
You have, I think, in some Muslim countries today, minorities in the range of 10%, 12%. Yes. Not a small minority. In Lebanon, you have something like 50-50. Of course, you have, in Egypt as well, you have strong strong non-Muslim minorities. If someone from a minority has a complaint against the government, the Muslim government, or against some actions that were taken against him, he feels his civil rights were abused or violated, does he have a process by which he can complain?
I think, so far as I know, every single constitution of Muslim countries has a specific clause which says non-Muslims have same civil liberties as Muslims have, which means law courts, parliament, ombudsman, not one, but several institutions which are to be used by Muslims will be used by them. Any non-Muslim in a Muslim state enjoys same rights which a Muslim enjoys in civil society. No differentiation. He can be elected in parliament, he can be appointed as a bureaucrat, he can work in various businesses, but if a non-Muslim says, well, since I am allowed to drink liquor, I want to introduce a chain store all over the country where I will distribute free liquor, then it's a problem of civility, not a problem of minority. Then state must consider when people will use and consume liquor so easily, what kind of society they will have.
Yes.
Will they drive their cars properly? Will they behave with families properly? Will they do their jobs properly after having so much access to all these things? Or we'll have same problems as some countries face today. So it will not be a matter of minority, it will be a matter of civil society.
I think the question often arises on this subject, if the non-Muslim is treated so well under Islam, How come they haven't converted to Islam? Why do they still exist?
Because Islam never pressurizes them to become Muslim. If there was a pressure group on them, if there was a systematic assimilation, then they will be converted. We don't have that pressure or assimilation. Islam is an open message to whole of humanity. If some minorities, after having received it, find it appropriate for them, they are welcome. But state mechanism cannot be used to pressurize them, nor we can victimize them because they are non-Muslims. That's why you find that in many Muslim countries, they have remained and played their role as responsible citizens.
Very good. Thank you very much to our guest, Dr. Anis, and thank you to our viewers for joining us.
طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله داع. Oh, the white moon rose over us from the valley of Wada, and we owe it to show gratefulness where the call is to Allah. طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله داع. رسول الله حبيب الله نبي الله شفيع الله. رسول الله حبيب الله نبي الله شفيع الله. صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. أيها المبعوث فينا جئت بالأمر المطاع جئت شرف المدينة مرحبا يا